Yeah, so my name is Mats Bryntse. I come from a small company called Bryntum, and today we're going to talk about a very exciting topic called error logging. And keep it down, don't get too excited. So briefly about me, I'm from Lund, Sweden, moved up here 3 or 4 years ago, working with JavaScript for the last 9-10 years, mainly within the Sencha ecosystem. I don't know if anyone uses Sencha, it's kind of a dinosaur at this point. But I've been heavily doing that for the past 9 years, and we have some scheduling components. I believe they're actually inside this building somewhere used, and Gantt, Kanban taskboard, and also a testing tool called Siesta. So I don't know, has anyone heard about any of these tools? Okay, there's a few hands, cool. And we have a Twitter if you want to follow us. That would be cool. So today it's all about error reporting, which has been my kind of deep passion for the last 6 months. I'm not really sure how it became this way, but it just started to be an obsession one day, and yeah, it got me here. I could be home taking a rest, but I'd rather work on error reporting stuff. So let's give some background. How many of you do something with error handling? You log errors, you show errors, pop up to the user like something went wrong, etc. And the opposite, how many of you do not do anything, or it's fine as it is? So I think for the most part, if you look at the enterprise segment out there, their strategy, or their awareness of this area of web development is kind of like this, like a pitch dark black night. Like the users probably have no clue if there's an error. They couldn't care less. They just want to go home from the job they don't like, and they don't want to be bothered by sending error reports to some app that they use on their website, right? And the developers, us, we're probably kind of busy. We have stuff to do, right? We have to deliver features for our managers. So I would guess probably 50% of companies, they don't really have time, energy, or they just don't care about this thing. But if you take another enterprise scenario, this is actually from a friend of mine who works at an oil company doing JavaScript. They have a kind of nice enterprise setup. So you have the user and you have you. And the user experiences some error in some web application. And first of all, they have to realize that it's an error. The error could be a soft error that doesn't necessarily trigger some bad behavior, but there could be some exception, but there's no pop-up, there's nothing visual went wrong. So most likely the user doesn't know. Even if he knows, he might not even care. He has other things to do, right? He's busy. But anyway, if he realizes that there is an error and he cares, then he reports that error to his own support. He's not going to call you because he doesn't know who you are because you're far away. So in my friend in this case will get these reports through an internal big support organizations like that. So who can identify with this case? Who's seen this kind of scenario? I've seen it myself. Not too many, that's good. Good for you. And then what happens next? Of course, the support function picks up their phone or fax or whatever they use to give you a telegram or SOS code. And then they give you the identification that there's some bug, send you some binary data or something that's completely useless for you as a developer. And then you get this from the support organization. And then your job is, of course, to try to reproduce it and eventually fix it, because the user, after all, made some effort to report it. But of course you cannot reproduce it, so you send some letter back to the customer that we cannot do anything with this data. You got to give us more info. So that's to me a kind of a typical cycle of error development. Does this ring a bell for anybody, or is this just me maybe? This is a long cycle. Like I added these little hourglasses to show that there's timing involved here in every step. So we're not talking seconds, we're talking minutes or weeks, or I don't know. Depends on how motivated the user is and how fast the support organization is. But you see, since I used the word enterprise, you can sort of guess what I'm aiming at here. Enterprise doesn't mean fast, right? So what you end up in then is a bizarre game of På spåret. So I don't know if the English-speaking of you will understand this, but it's a guessing game where you get clues and you're supposed to guess where you are. And this is kind of how I feel when you start the debugging journey, or figuring out, okay, I know this, something is broken, but what, but where, how? So 10 questions, you get some customer saying it doesn't work when I add an item to the cart. All right, what am I going to do with that? I have no idea no context. All right, so give me more info. Okay, A is undefined, shows up in my console. All right, great. I start looking for A in my minified source code. Now, as developers, we were hoping for this error report to be more like something like this, something nice, something easy, so we can go home and just watch Postpoet for real. So this we can deal with, this we can guess. This is the simple case. This is what we love, but not going to happen. So we keep on going, and then maybe you get access to the stack. Okay, it's line 1, because you're minifying the hell out of your scripts, and it's on column 530,000, whatever. Still, anybody know anything? No. So we keep going, and then, okay, maybe if you're lucky you get the stack. Now we're really getting some context, but again, it's some framework code that's you didn't even write, and there's no reference to your code anywhere. And again, great, okay, what do we do here? Maybe you ask the user for a screenshot that could give some indication. Maybe the UI is completely broken or whatever. And then what we all want as developers, as debuggers, is of course step-by-step instruction, right? We want the URL, we want to know what to do at that URL. So at this point, you're like, eep, 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 and you got it. But this is a long cycle, and this is a lot of guesswork. And I've been through this cycle myself, and just doesn't make me feel great. So how can we do better? So let's talk a little bit about errors and logging and monitoring in general. So error logging is not that hard. How many of you know about window and error hook? Been around for quite a while. So that's the old school way of doing it. We can also do the fancy new way with add event listener. And then inside of this, you get all the good stuff. In the normal browsers, like everything but IE, you get column, stack, all the nice things, which allows you to debug. And then if you want to capture resource load failures, which is also a nice thing to be able to capture, like image load fail, script load fail, CSS load fail, you add an extra true for the capture cycle, which is a nice little extra trick. And then what you get is an error event, which has the basics, the file name, the message, the line it went wrong, and column, and the error object. And on the error object, that's where you find the stack. That's the win. And that appeared in good browsers maybe 5 years ago, probably. It's still not available in all browsers. In mobile, it's not there. It's not there in Android, not there in iOS. They've taken it out. But still for the desktop browsers, it's there. So if we want to make a poor man's error logger, I hope this is readable in the back. Just create an image, set source, and then fire away. This is something you can add to your own app in like 1 minute. So setting up basic error logging is something, you should not be afraid of. And then if you look at this kind of flow, how the error works now. Now the error occurs in the web app. Immediately there's a report going to you somewhere, some database that's just doing logging. And after that, the user will realize it's an error, because this is less than a second to transfer that little data package. So that's the cool thing. You'll always know before the user knows, and that gives you the upper hand. So you could even impress the user by fixing it before they even like pick up the fax and like start typewriting or whatever they do. You'll be like light years ahead. So we have a clear advantage here. And then, of course, when you start your logging journey, you want to log a lot of things, so you don't end up in the Postpoet mess guessing. Because guessing, I mean, it's fun first time, but then you also have a life and friends and hobbies, right? So you want the OS, you want the browser, you want the browser version, window size, was it a touch device, whatever, date and time zone, maybe you have date-sensitive code like we do. Language could also be interesting. Network condition, were there any failed AJAX requests? Did the internet drop out? All this kind of stuff we can figure out. And then you want to save it somewhere. So we log this to a non-production server. We don't want an excessive error to spam our live database. We want this to be like a secondary crap database that we have in some basement. And then you want to probably throttle it on the client side. You don't want to log every mouse move exception you get, right? And then on the server side as well, just to make sure somebody is not messing with you. So that's kind of a background, and this is a little bit about my own journey, how I ended up where I am now. So we used to do error logging like this. We have an online website which shows all our products that we hope people will go and buy. So it's a great thing if they work. It's like our showroom, our window, so people go there and window shop. But if there's like a dead body in the window shop, nobody will probably go in and shop anywhere, right? So that's how we do it. And so our online samples are actually a very nice extra test suite. So anyone visiting our our suite is basically an unknowing test monkey. They're QA. A potential customer equals QA. They won't be happy if I call them that, but that's essentially the gist of it, right? And then we log it with to some PHP call in a MySQL database, send some email, and that got us pretty far. We realized that we can really speed up the bug fixing cycle. We don't have to do. So we found this. We like your product, but there's this bug on your site. Can you explain? Is this the way it's supposed to be? So we can be one step ahead of instead of 5 steps behind. So this helped us a lot. So QA, that's what we call them a little bit, and this gives us instant feedback. So this was good, but it still gave us a lot of postpoet time. Too much postpoet. We had to guess too much. Plain detective open source files, and the ratio of bug received versus bug found, reproduced, and fixed wasn't that great. So we wanted to know more. And let's look at our wish list. What if we can dream as a developer when there's an error? What do we want? Okay, I'm greedy. I'm going to wish for a shot of the application when the thing crashed, so I can see if there's anything obvious that I want to see. I don't want to guess how the application looked. I also would like to know how the crashing function was called. That's something we don't get out of the box in the web today. So if somebody calls some method with a strange argument -1 null undefined, that would be great to know, because otherwise I'm guessing all the time. How could this method? It looks well tested. There has to be some edge case. So this could be useful, right? I would also like to know if there's anything wrong with the network, if there's 404s happening, something shaky. Because typically, this exactly is from one of our own bug reports, which I really couldn't figure out, like, how can this possibly happen? Some crash on the page, but then I saw in our log that there was a failing AJAX request, and most of us do the happy testing, which is just testing the expected, but actually testing your app with failing AJAX request or extremely slow AJAX request gives you a completely different experience. So with this clue actually made me fix one bug. So I realized this is nice. And of course, we want to know what the user did, right? That's the ultimate. Instead of having to ask him like a step-by-step description, you want a nice clean list. This is what he did, because he might forget some really vital steps. So that's the wish list, and I mean, in a super dream scenario, I would be able to maybe be on his machine and see him do it, or while we're dreaming, I would like to be able to replay it on my machine against the live application, right? That would be cool. Or even better, I would like to be able to reproduce it or rerun it on my local machine, so I can have my own non-minified version, a box that I know, and then everything is fine, right? That would be the dream, wouldn't it? All right, let's continue. So introducing insert name here. So there's no name for this thing here. So unicorn seems to be all the rage these days. So this is what I've been working on for the past couple of months. And this is what it looks like. It's a form of an error logger UI, where you have information. You probably have seen tools like this before. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. I cannot, never mind. So you get a list of all your errors, how often they happened, the error message, the URL, etc. For each error that happens, we get a lot of details that I like. We get the URL, we get the call stack, of course, nicely formatted with links, so I can go to each item in the list and get a row highlighting like I want. We get the browser, the OS. I wish I could zoom here, but I guess I cannot. Nope, it won't. I can zoom on the right side. Anyway, so let's speak on the right side then. So we have the occurrence. Let's be pragmatic. And we have tags, so you can add any tag, which you can have any metadata that you want about the user or the special scenario. So completely extensible, and of course the environment, which browser, which OS, stuff about the AJAX situation. Did everything work okay? Was there any AJAX at all? So just things that you want to know. We also offer This is going to be hard to read maybe, but we also offer information about the arguments passed to the crashing function. We can trap that, which also gives you the nice little function view here, which this is the crashing function, and all the, just like in Chrome debugger, you see the arguments injected into the view. So you're starting to sort of see a bigger picture here. You don't have to go down the guessing trail of postpovet anymore, because you have an abundance of data. And you can draw conclusions based on this. We get a screenshot of the error, of the page at the time of the error. And you can see that it also injects a marker of the last thing that the user did, which provoked that crash. So was it a keystroke? Was it the enter key? Was it a click? And in this case, it's obvious that if you click the crash button, what do you expect? Duh. So this is an easy guess. You just delete the stupid crash button or change the text, and it's not going to crash anymore. But this is also giving you immediate details about what's happening at the point of the murder. Like this is basically a crime scene investigation almost. And then we get a timeline. For those of you who like to read, you get a sequence of everything that happened on the page while the user was there. So there was some AJAX request happening here, some params was sent, some console log was done, console warn, console error, whatever happens, we get it. And then we can log if there's a missing resource, there was an image that wasn't loaded correctly. That's something, it's nice to know because you can fix it. And tons of data. So OS, browser, window size, is it touch? If the window is blurred and focus, that has impact of your timers. The browsers lower the timer resolution quite a lot if you switch to a tab. They make it inactive. So that could actually affect you if you have a lot of timers and stuff like that. So we log that, and date, time zone, language, failed AJAX request, cookies, network connectivity. So we monitor everything. And then of course we bug the developers, that's me. So this is my actual inbox. So I get an immediate email with a call stack with the image, so I can see in my bed when I'm going tonight, so I can see how bad it is to wake up the next day. So don't do that. But still, it's nice to have that immediate notification. And then when the user does something bad, because basically they're messing with your application, they should be punished. But they get a nice pop-up, which shows them the state of the error. Is it a new error? Is it a reproduced error? Is it a fixed error? So they basically get in on the error scenario as well. So it's not only about you, they also get insight, which could be nice, because after all, they're helping you, so you can help them back. So 3 states right now, new, reproduced, fixed, which we let the user know about. And what do we have then? Then we have like a two-way communication, which is kind of secret. So they post data, they don't know it, but they know it if you enable the UI to show the error report. And then the user gets a nice prompt back saying it might be fixed in the latest release, or it's coming out tomorrow. You can pick your own error message there. It's fully customizable. And what does this lead to? It kind of leads to a lot of communication. So QA can basically unfriend developers forever. They don't have no relation anymore. They're bye-bye now. Have a good life. You don't have to talk anymore. No calls, no talks, because as soon as there's something reproduced, it's already in the developer's hands immediately. And then the QA will get the feedback back as a thank you. So the QA is already in the loop without any manual interaction. So does anyone use like Sentry or Track.js or similar tools? Any other popular tool that I'm forgetting? New Relic, yeah, that's similar. So you've seen kind of stuff like this before, right? Yeah. Do they do the screenshot thing too? All right, there you go. So, but the cool thing here that we all would like to, it would be so nice, since we know what the user did, wouldn't it be cool if we could just replay it? That would be the dream, right? Because then we can just start debugging right away. We don't have to wait for anything. We have everything. Because I showed you the list of things that happened in the browser. So what are we waiting for? All right, then now let's hope this works, because I busted up quite a bit. So if this doesn't work, I'm just going to run. And yeah, somebody, you take over. Okay. So let's start simple. Let's do a mirror. Sweet, so far so good. All right. This is too small. All right, so this is the landing page basically, which just shows you recent activity right now it's mainly me since it's localhost in my box, so no surprises there. That shows you how much life I have. And this is new errors that's coming in. And then we have the screenshot thing, so I can see immediately on my landing page, okay, what's going on. So somebody clicked on the search button. That's pretty bad. That's a feature that should work. So I can get a nice overview of what's happening in my app. Here's somebody clicking the crash button. That seems to be a bad thing right these days. So that's the landing page, and then we can go to details view. Oops. Details view, and this is what I showed you earlier, which has the stack. Again, the screenshot of our Kanban component. This is an actual bug that I got this morning. A one-click on these bars produce a crash, so I had to fix it. But I could replay it in my bed and see that, okay, this should be easy, because I saw the exception in front of me. So true story, but embarrassing, very embarrassing bug. So, and this is the timeline of everything that evil user did before they eventually broke the page. So that's kind of what it does. And if I've made a few examples here, so we're going to start with a React application. Basic thing I found online. Click to select some movie, select some country, Canada, type hey, and click search. And you see there was a flash there. That was us injecting the marker. We go back to error logger, application, and go to my sandbox page. And you see, hopefully, I don't know if it's cached now. Okay, sorry, wrong app. It should be React Tunes. Here we go. A few seconds ago, there was an exception called doobie-doo. So this is also pretty good, because this, you know that somebody's messing with you if this happens. So you know there's no fear here. It's kind of a friendly error. So somebody's playing a joke, and we see here what's happening. I can show you what's going on in the application itself. It's a very silly app, but the error is hitting here. It's just adding an event listener to a button called click, and then doobie-doo. Right? I'm suspecting that's not implemented in any DOM level spec. I haven't seen it anywhere. So that's crashing, obviously. And we have the timeline. We have everything. I can browse through different occurrences of this error to see different variations of it. See, okay, this time it crashed looking like this. Okay, maybe it looked like here it looked like something else. So we have a lot of data to browse through. And then, of course, I guess what we all want to see is what does it look like when we replay. So then we open what I guess we would call the replay studio. And here I can see exactly what the user has been clicking. And step on, step over. I can play each step individually, or I can just play the case as a whole. I can see how well I'm matching the error here, because this is going to matter. Maybe you might not be able to replay an error on IE if it happened on Android, because the DOM might be different. Your framework could make different choices. So we have to sort of match these kind of closely. So I output sort of the biggest ones that matter, that browser OS, is it touch or not? And then we show, if you use a major framework like React or Ext, we show you the version and your app version, because it might already be fixed. Who knows? There could have been a new deploy. So you have to know all these things when you replay it. But let's play it. So now I'm playing it extra slow. Oops. And then now, of course, it failed because there's a slight bug in our replay action. That's embarrassing. But then eventually it will just end up here. And you see the error message. And then this tool will try to help you and say, okay, this is reproduced now. I see this error message is the same as it was reported as. So you have the option, mark it as reproduced. All right, let's do that. And we go back to the app, and we see that it's automatically updated and ready. So that's kind of the flow, and then you can mark it as fixed, etc. So that's kind of the most simple case. But you can replay it over and over again, and then step in, step out over all these play actions individually to just see what they do. You can delete them if you don't care about them, because maybe a lot of this will be noise. In this case, it's only the last one which is causing the crash, right? And of course, if you want to debug, that's what you would like to do, right? You have to know what's going on here. So let's make it break. Let's play this last action again. Oops, this one. And now, of course, it's broken. It's stopping here. So wouldn't this be nice to, as a starting point for every error report that you get in, you play it on your own box and you just have fun? Because it doesn't get easier than this when you have it broken, ready, stopping at the point of the error, right? Compare that to the post-Boret journey, which is just like an eon of time down the drain. So let's step it up a notch. Let's take it a few steps further. This is fun, but we can do better. So we can try something more complex. This is an XJS page with a lot of widgets, a lot of stuff going on. That's just a sample page of all the things they do. So I'm just going to click some random places and click buttons and whatever, toolbar, submit. Yeah, let's do that. Excellent. Some menu, perfect. Yeah, more. Let's do some more things. Yeah. Toolbar, let's type some stuff. Pick something, bar. And then, hey. Oops, there was the marker again. And now you see the UI. An error was inserted, and if I'm a user now, I can choose to go in and see this error and see the state and just see who is it assigned to, who can I get more info from. So I'm kind of in the loop. Maybe I don't want to be in the loop, but then I just like close the browser anyway. So then we go back here to our sandbox, and we see no method name called onTrigger2Click. This also sounds like something we feel good about, because this is easy. This is not like A is undefined, right? But let's replay it. Let's see if this works. And then again, I'm playing it as slow as possible to be able to track it. But you see it's doing exactly what I did, down to the pixel. Typing some stuff, choosing things, typing more, and the crash is reproduced. And again, I can mark it as reproduced. All right, so that's done. Now we can go back to the page again. And of course, the next user is going to come to this page. And of course, since you're not lucky, he's going to do the same thing. So now the status has changed. It's now known and reproduced, which maybe makes the user a little bit more happy. And then, of course, you go in and say, okay, well, that was an easy fix. So just mark it as fixed. And then the next time the user goes in, and if the error is not yet published, he will see that it's fixed. Don't worry, it's coming. It's being deployed next week, whatever. So the user is actually in on the loop way more than in the enterprise version I showed you on slide 3, right? And then we can take it, of course, even further. This is what we use it for the most. This is our test bench, where we can drag. This is our scheduling product, where we can drag things around. So it's a very visual tool. So this is why we need this tool so badly, because we need to have feedback of what's broken. You can see that's everything I do is recorded in the middle. That's the live recording. And you see the logs of things on the right side. You can see visibility was hidden because I changed the tab. There was some AJAX requests going on. There was a wrong URL. So there's a failing AJAX request. And I can do a console warn. We track that, console log, and then let's make it crash again. So it's logged. And go back to errors list. Event get resources. It's not a function. That also sounds easy. And here you can see the cool stuff that we're trapping all the extra arguments that was passed to this method. And we can see that it's getting some strange arguments. Yeah. It's a highlight is a boolean, but it's getting a string. I'm doing this on purpose just to mess up with this function completely. And then animate is also a true false. I'm sending it a really strange number. It makes no sense. But as a developer, this is pretty cool intel to get if you're wondering why this function just crashes all of a sudden. And then you can just click here and go. So the tool just opens the source file for you in a nice code mirror view. So you see exactly where it went wrong. So you don't really have to do much. You can basically sit back and have a coffee or a beer, whatever. And then, of course, we want to replay it. And we see all the stuff I did played back in a slow pace. You can do fast pace. You can do extra fast pace, which just cuts out the mouse movement. And And I'm moving the mouse. Not sure what I'm doing there. Okay, guess the playback broke. We'll just continue anyway. And that's the error. So that's kind of how we deal with errors now, which kind of puts you in a different seat. So normally, I guess you feel like there's thousands of bugs attacking your team of 5. But now with this, I feel like we're like in the trenches, machine guns ready. If there's a bug, we're like attacking it. We're attacking it full force. So it's actually fun to get a bug report now, because you're just wondering. It's like a small little Sudoku to solve. So it's much more fun scenario than feeling that the bugs are winning all the time. And quick view of how this is initialized. Of course, you add some script to the page, which bootstraps everything. And then you configure. You tell the logger, which is called now, what do you want to do? Do you want to record user actions? How many logs do you want? Probably you only want 1 per page, because the follow-up errors could be less important because they're subsequent errors. Do you want to log resource load failures? What's your application ID? Do you want AJAX notifications, etc.? Do you want a screenshot? So you can scale it down to basically doing what all the other tools are doing today, but you can also scale it up if you want really tons of information. And of course, there's security issues here. You might not want to dump the cookies of your user or send sensitive data. But you can look at it as a different tool for different phases. So during your development and your staging cycle and your QA, it can just help you with this repetitive playback feature. But then when you go to live, you might turn that off. Maybe leave the screenshot feature in there, but probably you don't want to replay against a live user's database, because that could make them really pissed off if you delete their stuff or whatever, do something you didn't intend to. So that's why the feature is really useful, to be able to replay locally. So that's pretty much it, and then you add your tags, anything you want saved that's relevant for you, like who's the currently logged in user, or is it a Wednesday, or whatever makes sense in your world. So I guess that's all I had. Any questions or feedback? Anything? Not really. Well, we don't record mouse move or things like that, so this only does something if on like a type or a mouse click or anything, so it's not going to add any additional overhead. You won't notice it. It's running in the background, you won't see it. So it's not like it's continuously doing things. It's only acting when user does something. I mean, if the user has like severe ADHD and like click, then of course it might slow it down, but usually you click a little bit and you type. It's not like, since we don't track mouse movement, that would cause immense overhead, of course. Yes, there's one event list, one event listener. Yes, to the document element. We don't log the data. We just log the duration and the URL and the parameters. We don't replay the data. That we might try to do that as well. Then complexity, of course, grows as well. So we don't log data yet. There's also, of course, security issues and size issues relating to that. But so this works extremely well for us, because all our demos are static data, client side, no state. So for us, it couldn't get better. If it could, I would really like to know how. But it's amazing for us, but of course in a real world scenario you have more things to think about: session cookies, database state, all those things. But it can still prove quite useful, I think. We haven't figured out where to go yet. Like you saw, there was a unicorn instead of a name, so that tells you a little bit about there's some stuff left, but there will definitely be some freemium solution, and once it's polished and ready, like a few months ago, it should have been out, but yeah, I'll let you know through the group. And yeah, feel free to email us or go to our website. We'll definitely post there as well. Anyone else? All right. Yeah, right now it's just a MySQL database. So we'll package that up, and then it'll have to be a Java flavor, IIS flavor, Apache flavor of everything. So that's the job that's sort of left. Now it's just MySQL PHP, which really maybe doesn't fit in every enterprise case. So
Is the idea to keep all the logs like forever, or are they erased, for example, after they are fixed?
yeah, it will be probably like a rolling 30-day thing or a 15-day thing. But yeah, when it's fixed, I guess the only time you would care about a fixed issue is if it becomes reproduced again, then it has to reopen itself. That's something, because we can automate a lot of this. This is now everything you saw was done by me, but in the future, or yeah, we have a long feature list. Of course, we're gonna give this to the nice guys at Salt Labs. So while you're sleeping, it's replaying everything in the exact environment that it happened, so that you don't have to sit and wait. I mean, it's kind of fun to watch it for you and eat some popcorn and see the movie play, but you also have real things to do, right? But so we'll automate that. We'll automate as much of the state transition, the boring part, so that you can just focus on debugging. So we're already partners with Sauce Labs. They gave us some shirts today, so we'll use them to automate that part as well. And then hopefully what's left is just fixing the bug. No guesswork. All right. Thank you very much for tonight's beer clock.
Thank you so much.